What?
You're not my dad!
I only love my dad and my mom, I'm sorry.
So slowly but surely, Drake has become one of the biggest artists in hip-hop, probably the biggest artist in hip-hop since his mentor, Lil Wayne. But with all that popularity and with all that fame comes a lot of hate. So today, let's try to find out, why do people hate Drake?
They don't want to see you winning. They don't want to see you winning. They don't want to see you winning. They don't want to see you winning.
So first things first, I think Drake gets a lot of hate simply for being on top. And as I said previously, I think Lil Wayne was in this situation only a few years ago. Lil Wayne was at the top of his game, and when you're at the top of your game, you are going to be hated by a lot of people. Lil Wayne was at his prime for a very long time, but at the tail end of his career, you could see that people really wanted to see him fall off. And eventually, Lil Wayne fell off to some extent. He's still a hip-hop legend, of course, but he isn't nearly as popular as he used to be. He passed that torch on to Drake. Drake has been just as popular as Lil Wayne, if not even more popular, and he could be argued as one of the biggest hip-hop artists of all time. But we have had a lot of Drake. He's been on top for multiple years now, and it seems like we're getting into that phase where people want to see Drake fall off, simply because he's just been so successful. Also, similar to his mentor, Drake said that he was the best rapper in the world, but he says it in very subtle ways, like, I'm not one, but I'm not two, so that means I am one.
I know I said top 5, but I'm top 2, and I'm not 2, and I got one. Thought you had one, but it's not one, nigga, nah.
It's very weird. Lil Wayne did the same thing by claiming he was the best rapper in the world, and when you claim things like this, that's gonna rub a lot of people the wrong way, and I think that's what happened with Drake. When you ask most hip-hop fans who's the #1 in the game, they're probably going to say someone like Kendrick Lamar, and while creatively and, you know, just bar for bar, I think Kendrick is the better artist, if we're looking in terms of pure sales and pure success, then I think Drake really does have a case for being #1, and that makes a lot of people angry to see that Drake might not be the most talented, but he is still outselling everyone and is still doing the best in terms of just sales. So while Drake has been on a run, it seems like we're finally getting to the point where people are starting to get fed up with Drake a little bit. While he's still very popular and he's still arguably #1 in terms of sales in the entire hip-hop industry, it seems like the tides are starting to turn a little bit and people are starting to get a little bit fed up with Drake, and a lot of people thought that Lil Wayne could never fall off, but we've seen it happen to some extent, and it seems like history is going to repeat itself, and the same thing could happen to Drake.
You gotta respond to this nigga. You cannot say, I bring calicos to the Alamo and then run out of bullets. Fuck that. No.
Not responding to beef is one of the biggest things I think recently that a lot of people have been criticizing Drake for. So Drake has been seen as someone like Thanos. He's so powerful, no one can stop him, and he's pretty much just a force to be reckoned with. But as we've seen from the Pusha T diss, The Story of Adidas, which Drake still has not really replied to, it just seems to really throw off this whole image of Drake being on top and Drake being untouchable, and this has ruined the image of Drake for a lot of people out there. The Meek Mill beef is a very good example of thinking that Drake is someone who is just untouchable. Meek Mill was right in the situation that Drake did have ghostwriters, and he was exposing him on something that a lot of people in hip-hop do care about and something that could ultimately hurt Drake's legacy, but it didn't really matter at the end of the day. When you look at the Meek Mill situation, Meek Mill was not nearly as big of an artist as Drake, and despite having facts and proof of what Drake was doing, it didn't seem to matter in terms of public perception, and Drake just took another W. And it seemed like the same thing was going to happen with Pusha before he dropped The Story of Adidas, which really hurt Drake's legacy if he wants to claim to be the best and he isn't even able to reply to a diss track from another artist.
You mentioned wedding ring like it's a bad thing. Your father walked away at 5, hell of a dad thing. Marriage is something that Sandy never had, Drake. How you a winner but she keep coming in last place.
If you're going around like Drake is and you're claiming to be the best rapper and you're claiming that you're untouchable, and in all your songs you're talking about being that guy, and then you get dissed and you don't reply to it, especially after coming out with the first track dropping someone's name in it, it just doesn't seem like something becoming of someone who is on top of the hip-hop game right now, and it lost him a lot of respect of a lot of more hip-hop heads, and I feel like this didn't hurt him in the sense of casual fans. I feel a lot of casual fans didn't really care about this, or they didn't even hear about it in general, and they're probably just gonna go consuming a lot of Drake's singles still. But this really, once again, just hurts Drake's legacy, and it really makes a lot of people question, is he really that top guy if he can't even respond to someone who is just ultimately dissing him? Also, now when you listen to his newest album, Scorpion, and you hear a lot of these bars about how he's that guy and how nobody can touch him and how he's this and that, it just seems a lot less believable. When Drake was saying these things previously, there was nothing really to back up that what he was saying wasn't true, but now we're seeing that he actually can be hurt. Someone can actually take down Drake, and it really just takes away the whole mystique of Drake being the #1 person and just being on top. And I think that really makes a lot of his bars just less believable, and overall it just makes the music kind of worse and kind of takes you out of it a little bit.
Oh, money, new women, gotta keep it balanced. The girl of your dreams to me is probably not a challenge. I've been counting it out so many times I couldn't count it.
The ghostwriting was a very big deal when it came to Drake. He was exposed by this originally by Meek Mill, who released some reference tracks by Quentin Miller, who was also working with Drake. This goes back to the whole thing of Drake being the #1 guy. You can't be the #1 guy if you have someone else writing your lyrics for you. You can be #1 in terms of sales, and you can be #1 in terms of a pop artist, but when you're Drake, this once again really does hurt your legacy, as when they're comparing you with the greats, they're gonna be like, oh, but Drake didn't write his lyrics. I think it's fair to point out that other artists do this as well. There are plenty of other artists in hip-hop who do not write all their lyrics, but they don't go about it the same way Drake did. Drake tried to hide this, he tried to kind of deny it, and it's pretty clear that he has someone else helping him out. When you're saying you're the best and you're claiming to be like the GOAT and stuff like that, you can't do that when someone else is writing your lyrics. Artists like Kanye West, for instance, have a lot of people writing for him, but he acknowledges this and gives these people credit. There wasn't really that much credit, it seemed like, for Quentin Miller, and once again, this just really hurts Drake's case for being so great. And when you claim that you're so great, once again, that causes people to not really like you. While we've seen from the public perception of this beef that it doesn't really matter if Drake writes his lyrics or not, the average person doesn't care, and once again, they're still going to consume all the singles that Drake releases. But this has been something that's been hammered home in this video, and it's the fact that this is going to hurt Drake's legacy. Drake is someone who seems to have a lot of pride. He seems to really care about his legacy and his place in hip-hop, and a lot of these scandals and a lot of these allegations are really gonna hurt him in the long run. When we look back maybe even 5 to 10 years from now about how great Drake's impact was, it might be hindered by the thoughts of ghostwriting and the thoughts of just not responding, and it really is gonna hurt him in the long run, I believe. With all this said though, I think Drake is a very talented artist. I think Drake is one of the best in hip-hop right now, despite all the ghostwriting, despite the not responding. I think some of the hate he gets is warranted, but it seems like a lot of this simply comes from a lot of people wanting to see the guy on top fall. And I think that can be said a lot about a lot of the people who really do hate on Drake. While there are some things there that I think he does deserve hate on and he probably should be criticized for, it seems like a lot of it just comes out of people being jealous and thinking that Drake doesn't deserve the spot that he's in. But what do you guys think of Drake? Do you hate Drake? Do you love Drake? What do you think of his new album Scorpion? Let me know down in the comments down below. If you like this video, be sure to hit the like button. If you dislike this video for some odd reason, be sure to hit the dislike button. And if you're new, how about you subscribe? But yeah guys, this has been Throwaway, and as always, peace out.
Bitch don't send no DMs, I said when I count checks, bitch don't send me